We're going to start off with talking about some basic terminology with genetics. Now, we just graded our vocab page, so you're going to see that this is dealing with the vocab there. So, as we follow along up here, it says, Part 1, Introduction, Number 1, describe the genotypes. Given, use your notes. The first two are already done. Now, the genotypes are the actual letters. Okay? So capital D, they are both the same. They are homozygous if they are both the same. Capital D is dominant. Okay? So this would be homozygous dominant. The second one, letter B there, is capital D, lowercase d. Those are different, right? So that is what we call heterozygous. Look at letter C. What would letter C be? Go ahead, Jamie. Homozygous, because they are both the same. Homozygous, and they are both lower letters, so they are homozygous recessive. What about letter D? Lowercase s. What is that? Once again, that one too is homozygous recessive. What is letter E? Capital Y, lowercase y. Lewis? That is heterozygous. What about letter F? Capital W, capital W. Sydney, what do you think? Homozygous purebred. What do I call them, though? Homozygous, and the capital letters are? That's homozygous or purebred. We use them interchangeably, but what are capital letters? Dominant. Excellent. Do we understand heterozygous, homozygous? Do we understand dominant, recessive? Okay? Now we're going to bring in another word. And it is this guy right here. Phenotypes. Okay? Phenotypes. It says right here, number 2. In humans, brown eye color, capital B, is dominant over blue eye color, lowercase b. What are the phenotypes of the following genotypes? In other words, what color of eyes will they have? Okay? Brittany, I want you to go back to your vocab page on number 16, and I want you to read to me what it says for phenotypes. Okay? What did we put for phenotypes? The physical appearance of the trait. So the trait here is eye color. The physical appearance is whether that trait is brown eye or a blue eye. Brown is dominant, blue is recessive. So if I look at capital B, that is homozygous, that is dominant. So what is the phenotype of that person's eyes? Brown. Letter B there is lowercase b. That is homozygous recessive. What is the phenotype of that eye color? What do you think, Olivia? Blue, because it is the recessive. Now, if I look at letter C, it is capital B, lowercase b. It is heterozygous. What is the phenotype of that? Brown. Okay, why is it brown, Lewis? Because it has the dominant trait. It has the dominant trait. Excellent. Now, after we've done that terminology, this, I believe, is going to be review also. How many people remember what we call a Punnett square? Have you done Punnett squares before? You should have done Punnett squares in middle school. Okay, now let's look. Our Punnett squares. It says these 5 steps are involved. 1, determine the genotypes of the parents or whatever is given. Number 2, set up the Punnett square as follows. Okay, possible parent gametes, where those arrows are pointing at. Number 3 says fill in the squares. This represents the possible combinations that occur during fertilization. Number 4 says write out the genotypic ratio. What was the genotype again? What was the genotype again? The letters. Okay? The final thing is, using the genotypic ratio, determine the phenotypic ratio. What is the phenotype? The physical trait. Okay? Remember, the genotype we talked about before was capital B, lowercase b. The phenotype would have been brown eyes. Would have been brown eyes. So let's look at an actual problem of a monohybrid cross here. Okay? We're going to do this first one, and then your homework's going to be the rest of them. So let's go through, and it says, number 1, a heterozygous smooth pea pod plant is crossed with a wrinkled pea pod plant. There are 2 alleles for the pea pod, smooth or wrinkled. Predict the offspring from this cross. Now, does it matter what we say is, what letter we use to represent any of these things? Does the letter matter? No, just so we know what we're talking about. In this case, the 2 alleles for the pea pod are smooth and wrinkled. Which one is dominant? Can we tell? Which one is dominant? Lewis? Smooth pea pod is dominant. How can we tell that the smooth pea pod is dominant? Jonathan, what do you think? Huh? Well, it came first in the sentence. They could possibly switch that up on you. Okay? What's the big clue, the big hint that tells us? Fletcher? Heterozygous smooth. That means it has both the bag, the capital letter, and the small letter, and it's smooth. That tells me that smooth is dominant. Now, what are the genotypes of the parents? I'm just going to use S. Okay? So if I'm writing a heterozygous smooth, I'm going to do this. Now, why did I put that little line above that S? That is how we use, S's look the same, right? S's look pretty similar. When I put this line above it, everybody can see, hey, Braun has a lowercase s right there. He put that line above it. Okay? He put that line above it. So I have S, lowercase s, for one of the parents. What's the other parent? What is the other parent? It says a wrinkled pea pod plant. What would the other parent be? Two lowercase s's. So I have lowercase s, lowercase s. Once again, I put the bar over the top so we know. Now, the next step is to set up my Punnett square. I put the capital S and the lower s in the appropriate spots. Then my other one is a lower s and a lower s. Now go through. You've worked Punnett squares. What are we going to go through? Well, we're just going to bring a capital S down and a lower s. Here's a lower s and a lower s. Here is a capital S and a lower s. Here is a lower s. Here is a lower s. Okay? Would we agree with my Punnett square? Now, this is getting us into, okay, letter D. What is the predicted genotypic ratio for the offspring? Well, what genotypes do I have? Capital S, lowercase s. How many? 2 out of 4. So, my genotypic ratio, 2 out of 4 are capital S, lowercase s. What are the other ones? 2 out of 4 capital S, lowercase s. 2 out of the 4 are lowercase s, lowercase s, right? Do we understand that step? Could I have said 1/2 instead of 2 out of 4? Yeah. All right. Now it says, what is the predicted phenotypic ratio? Well, what's capital S, lowercase s? That's a smooth pea plod, right? So, 2 out of the 4 are smooth. And 2 out of the 4, what's little s, little s? Wrinkled. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. I ran out of room. I'm going to have to put the wrinkled down there. Okay? Now, do we understand that? Are we good so far? This should be review for you of your middle school stuff. Now, final question states, if this cross produced 50 seeds, how many would you predict to be wrinkled? Jonathan? 25. Excellent. How did you get 25? How many of these would be wrinkled? 2/4, right? What is 2/4? 50%, 1/2. So if we had 50 seeds, how many would we think would be wrinkled? Half of them. Now, your homework, ladies and gentlemen, for tomorrow is to do number 2 right here, and then Number 3 and number 4. 2, 3, and 4 are your homework for tomorrow that we will grade.